My wife was unfaithful to me. She says that her lover means nothing to me and we have a child together. Hello, this is a secondary account because it wouldn't be great if my wife stumbled onto this post. Long story short, I'm looking for some ideas on how to coexist in a large complicated family situation where my wife cheated on me and I absolutely can't leave the house. The situation is that we are both in our early 50s and have been together for over 30 years. We have 6 children, including a severely disabled son who could not live anywhere else but with us. The other kids kind of come and go as their lives change, jobs and college semesters and relationships end, etc. We have 2 left in high school who, in theory, will be leaving for college in about 2 years, which will leave my wife and me alone with our special son. Important information here is that our son needs near constant supervision around the clock. He's not very mobile, but he is big and can get around, and if someone isn't there to redirect him he could get hurt. On top of that, he hasn't slept more than 2 hours at a time probably ever in his life. It's completely exhausting for everyone involved. Other relevant info is that we live for free in a house owned by her parents at the back of a large piece of property. It's the house my wife grew up in. Her mom and dad built a new place on the other side of the property. Her family is amazing and supportive and they help us out constantly. I work 4 12-hour shifts a week while my wife stays home, but we still divide our day into halves. I have Tony from midnight until noon every single day, and she has him from noon until midnight. That's usually when I'm at work. Did I mention it's exhausting? Anyway, I can go into the details of the story if anyone wants to hear it, but essentially one of my daughters caught my wife cheating on me a year ago. My daughter told me what she suspected and I'm ashamed to say I didn't believe her. About a month after that I caught her pretty much red-handed. She immediately confessed and tearfully told me that it didn't mean anything and that this guy just gave her something to look forward to. He's a ridiculous who lives in our neighborhood, by the way. We've met socially a few times. I know I can't settle up with him in any meaningful way, but I've definitely daydreamed about it. Sorry this is so long and disjointed, it hurts like hell to actually type all of this out. This whole thing went down a year ago and my wife has done everything humanly possible to make things right, but I can't get over it, and I also can't leave. Who would watch Tony? He can't/won't ride in a vehicle, so if I left I'd still have to come back here every 12 hours, that would be no life at all. If my son wasn't in the picture I'd be long gone. It isn't that I don't love my wife and I forgive her, but I'll never, ever be able to forget her infidelity and how it all went down. If you made it this far, thanks for letting me vent. I'm pretty lonely since she, my former best friend, was unfaithful to me and betrayed my trust. Anyone see an off-ramp for me here? Update, I've gotten a bunch of messages from kind, or maybe just curious, folks here wondering if there's been any movement in my situation, and there's been a little, so I figured I'd sit down tonight and tap out a few paragraphs letting anyone who cares know what's going on. You can check my post history if you want all the details, but the short version is that my wife had an affair, got caught, and spent the next year jumping through all kinds of hoops to convince me to stay and to love her again. The thing is, I never stopped loving her, and I never will, but I absolutely can't ever trust her again, so our marriage is probably going to have to end. The problem we have is that one of our children is severely special and it takes all of us, including the extended family, to be able to manage him on a day-to-day basis. So, what's changed since my last post? I finally, after a year of this achingly painful limbo, told my wife that we needed to sit down together and figure this thing out. Living in the same house and being civil/pleasant to one another just isn't sustainable anymore. I read and thought a lot about each and every message I received when I posted before, and one that really got to me was a person who, kind of passive-aggressively, asked me what kind of an example I was setting for my kids. I've always actively tried to teach them that actions have consequences, but here I sit today being a sad hypocrite. Anyway, before this becomes too long and unreadable, here's how that conversation went. As soon as we sat down, she started sobbing hysterically. She fully expected me to tell her that we are getting divorced. I told her that I am sick and tired of this limbo that we have been living in and that it is not fair to anybody involved. She just kept sobbing and asking what else she can do to fix us, but I told her that I just don't see a way back from this. The thing is that I could probably have found a way to forgive a one-night stand, or something along those lines. But the fact remains that she had a long, complicated, secretive affair. That affair could not have existed but for the 1,000 lies she had to tell, and I just can't get past that. Anyway, against the advice of pretty much everybody on this site, I agreed to go to a marriage counselor with her. During our first, and only, session I was admonished that I needed to be doing more to fight for my family. I told him that the way I saw things was that my wife gave up our family in exchange for some amorous slips, and our 50-minute session went downhill from there. On a positive note, during the car ride home, my wife and I shared the best and most genuine laugh we've had together in over a year when she pointed out that the therapist looked and sounded exactly like the secretary from Ghostbusters. We're going to try another counselor in December. I'll let y'all know how that goes. One kind of personal but interesting development is that my wife asked me so very nicely to return to our bedroom. She said that she hasn't slept well since I quit coming in there. She also told me that she wants us to start having relationships again. We did that evening and it was amazing. I told her, before and after, that the relationships didn't change anything substantive with our relationship, and she said she understands. She just said it was nice to be held again, and I kind of agree with her. We have been together for so long, and it just feels natural. Of course, about 5 minutes after we were done I couldn't help but think about her doing that with someone else, which kind of ruined the whole thing for me. But I kept my mouth shut. She also begged me to go through her phone, to prove she's not cheating again, I guess. I told her that I'm a cop for 48 hours a week already, and that I'm not interested in policing her text messages, too. It made me think though. I didn't offer my phone to her, but if she had asked for it, I would have handed it over to her. The only interesting thing she would have found is this alt-Reddit profile. Food for thought. Sorry this got so long. I'm not optimistic that any of this changes anything, but it feels nice to be making some kind of progress, even that progress is in a direction that my wife doesn't want. Thanks for listening. Progress at all. Your first couples counseling session is supposed to be more informal and to get some background. And y'all already devolved and you tried to cover it up with some relationships. Of course it made you feel like garbage afterwards. You're not addressing any of the serious issues and simply trying to mask the trauma. By all means continue attempting couples counseling, but you better self-reflect and quit making decisions to set yourself on fire to keep her warm. The body always keeps the score, and you've let so much time pass without managing the trauma that it becomes habit and ingrained. You really need to see your own therapist and have someone in your corner to talk things through, because it's quite clear you're making your pain and unhappiness with unhealthy coping mechanisms. Best of luck, but spend some time really reflecting on your own life and simply how unhappy you are willing to be the rest of your days to sacrifice for family. There always needs to be a plan B. I understand your adult son is a loving but difficult challenge, but what happens if you or her drop dead tomorrow? There will have to be some adjustments. That's more dramatic than the fact that one of you chooses to live separately and still helps co-parenting from time to time. OP, brilliant feedback like this is exactly what I love about Reddit. There's so much wisdom and value here. I'm going to bookmark this and reflect on it tomorrow. It's gold, thank you. I am sorry you are here and this situation is not working out. I hope you have been doing what you can to help take care of yourself. I know you are sacrificing so much for everyone else. But what have you done to take care of yourself? I really highly recommend you start doing that, and if that means your partner has to suffer, well, that's her issue. If you haven't started individual therapy, then I would start sooner than later. Yeah, she needs therapy, but so do you, to help process the pain and to help you find the person you have lost over these many years. Maybe you should look into extending your house and making your own place so you can get away and be yourself and take time to take care of yourself. I guess maybe one of those granny pods can be your own place. I hope your wife does find this post, just because she needs to know what she has done has broken the family. It wasn't just you, but your daughter as well. She brought the evil into the family. Please OP, take care of yourself and cry if you need to and yell from the pain and do things that make you happy and healthier. You are worth it. OP, thanks for this amazing response. I bet you're a great listener in real life. You are so right about the damage my wife did to the family, but especially to my daughter. That relationship is probably destroyed forever. I hope all the late-night flirtatious texting and everything she did was worth it. I do have access to all kinds of therapy, even in my small, rural area. It's tricky, though, because of my profession. It's hard to explain too much without completely doxing me, but while advice is theoretically available to me at any time, it would not be ideal. I really feel like I'm okay, though. It turns out my superpower is compartmentalization. I hadn't even really considered building a little casita on the property. I kind of like that idea, honestly. That's exactly the kind of outside-of-the-box suggestion I was hoping to find here, so thank you. Brilliant feedback like this is exactly what I love about Reddit. If they could just get rid of the porn and politics, this is the kind of incredibly valuable information and insight we could all share. Of course, porn and politics are why everyone came here in the first place, I guess. There's so much wisdom and value here. I'm going to bookmark this and reflect on it tomorrow. It's gold, thank you. Yeah, you're not wrong. The only real consequences for her so far have been some side eyes at church and the stress she's feeling from having to watch her family dissolve. How is the relationship between your wife and daughter who caught her? That relationship is shattered. That daughter hasn't spoken to mom since everything blew up, and she had to work on Thanksgiving this year. Thanksgiving can't be skipped in this family, as it's a big feast with about 100 friends and family. We don't have to host, thank goodness. I'll be surprised if they talk again in the next decade or so. It's ugly. You don't have time for extras in your day, but your wife did. Leave. Work longer hours so you can afford to be on your own and visit your son. Let your wife take care of him more, she has the time for it.